Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Wonder of Anime podcast. I am your host, Lisa. I am a multimedia anime content creator, and my work spans across my blog, my YouTube channel, and of course, this podcast. And I am so excited to be here this episode of the podcast with, I think this is the first time where I have someone who became my mutual on Threads. And I know a lot of people are like, people are on Threads. Yes, we are on Threads. The anime community is thriving over there. And this is one of my mutuals that I've met on Threads. And I feel like we've been mutuals for some time. Mm-hmm. So this is the Recovering Elitist, who I'm going to call Rec on this episode, as he's given me permission, who is an anime YouTuber that creates video essays highlighting some of his favorite scenes, characters, and other aspects of various shows. He enjoys animes of all genres and demographics, and tries to bring a little bit of that variety to his channel's content. He also has a love for all animation in general, not just anime, and as well as voice acting. So welcome to the show, Rec.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you here. And you're going to be talking about an anime that I told you before we got started. Never in a million years did I think you were going to pick this anime.
That's the best. That's the best part.
So we'll get into the anime in a second. But before we do that, I did want to get to know your content creation journey just a little bit, because I always love knowing how people got into, like we all get into anime, but how did you get into the thinking, like, I want to share my love of anime with everyone?
Well, it starts back in high school, because I've been watching anime YouTubers since I was a kid, since I was in high school. So it's been a while. I grew up watching Giguk, Mother's Basement, Super Eye Patch Wolf, and so I've been following a lot of these guys for a long time while I've been getting deeper and deeper into anime. So fast forward a few years, 2020, COVID, world shuts down, and I had just been laid off for the third time in 2 years. So it was really frustrating. World's in pandemic mode, and I didn't know what to do with myself. And I figured I could either invest my money in the normal stuff, or I could take a chance on myself and do something that I wanted to do for the first time in my life. So I decided to build a PC. I started researching and looking up how to start a YouTube channel and the kind of things you should think about. And in 2021, I released my first video.
And what was that video?
It was, I believe the title is Full Metal Alchemist Changed My Life, or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. It also changed my life, so.
Right? Yeah.
That is a good video. And that's so interesting. I grew up watching YouTube, but I never watched anime YouTubers. And I actually don't really like listening to people talk about anime.
It's strange, because a lot of these guys on paper, I wouldn't necessarily be into. I don't usually follow personalities like that. But a lot of these guys, I really admired the way that they structured their scripts. I like the way that they think and how they go about humor. And I could see myself in a lot of those things too. So it was really interesting following a lot of their careers. And even just recently, Giguk announced that he's having one of his own works being turned into an anime, which is huge.
That is huge. And I have no idea who that is, but congrats to him.
Congrats to him.
I will say, like, I have people that make anime content, but it's usually like mutuals of mine that I've made mutuals because I'm like, hey, come on the podcast. But I'm picky with like who I'm getting information from. But I do think that like it's awesome that you were able to be like, I could do that, because a lot of people see people doing things and they're like, I can't do that. Like, this is never, this is never something that I'll be able to do. And instead you were like, no, actually I can. So I love that. I think that's very, commendable.
Thank you.
I wanted to also ask, what is the meaning behind your name, Recovering Elitist?
Sure. Okay, so it's literally written on the tin. I would consider myself the type of anime fan, and in a lot of ways, just the type of person that would be a little more obnoxious, with a lot of the ways that I would go about doing things and thinking about things. And I just see myself as in that recovering part of my life where I'm trying to be, a little bit more of trying to project a little bit more of what I want to see out into the world. And so this is just me trying to be myself. And like one of the ways I try to embody that is I don't try to talk about shows that I don't like or try to do hate trains or stuff like that. I prefer to talk about things that I enjoy or feel strongly about in a good way.
That speaks to my heart and soul because that is literally why I started this form. I've been doing this podcast for a couple years, but specifically the format where I have people come and talk about their favorite animes. I literally have been so tired of the hot takes, the think piece, like let's break every single anime down. And I was like, I just want people to talk about like why they love a certain anime and like what it means to them. And that's literally why I started this, because I'm just like, we are all fans, but I think in the content creation machine, a lot of people end up going from critic to cynic and just being like super hateful and have to find the negative in every single series, every single anime, every single manga. And I'm just like, yeah, no, don't do that. So I appreciate you sharing that and, you know, that vulnerability, because I feel like we all have things that we can be kind of like snobby about. I usually don't share mine because I'm like, y'all would hate me if you knew all the things I was snobby about. But also I think like I don't need to put that out into the world. Like the world doesn't need more hate. The world needs more love and positivity and like and sharing the positives of things. So I appreciate that. And I had seen you had done a thread about your username. So I was like, that's how I kind of knew that you were like somebody I had my interest on for the podcast. Cause I'm like, I like that. Like, I feel like a lot of people wouldn't admit that. But I do think like that sincerity comes through in the work that you do, like with your anime content.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So now we are going to get into, you told me how to pronounce this. I already forgot. So we're going to be talking about one of your favorite anime, which is Shangri-La. How did I forget?
Shangri-La Frontier.
Shangri-La Frontier. So yes, tell us about Shangri-La Frontier.
Of course. It's a show that dropped in 2023, I believe in October, and it's been running in Weekly Shonen Magazine since about 2020. It really popped onto the scene randomly to me. I never saw it coming, and I'm pretty sure I picked it up in the middle of its run, so it wasn't really something that I had my eyes on or my radar for. It's something that I kind of fell in love with while watching the show itself. There wasn't really a lot of hype around it at the time. Even still, it's kind of an underrated show in my opinion. And so it really snuck up on me, and I was blown away by a lot of what goes into it. The way that they address their content and how they deal with their characters and that kind of thing. Basically, it is a show about video games in a similar vein to Sword Art Online, but very different. It features the main character. He's Tome Rakuro. He goes by Sunraku online, and he's just a game nerd. He loves video games, and especially he loves playing cracked or broken video games that are glitchy. And in doing so, he's actually gotten really, really, really good at games because he knows how to play around a lot of limitations in systems. And despite being in love with all sorts of trash games, as he calls them, he gets burnt out from one in particular, and when he goes to the store to buy a new game to get into, he gets the suggestion to try to detox himself with a really good video game for once. And in doing so, he finds Shangri-La Frontier, which is a full dive VR video game, and it's got like 30 million concurrent players online. Huge game, and he just falls in love with it. He gets hooked on it, and he just starts tearing through the game the way that only a rabid, sweaty video gamer can. Yeah.
I remember the season that this came out, obviously because it didn't come out that long ago. And I saw the first episode, but I don't really like video, and I love video games, but I don't like anime about video games because then I just want to go and play video games.
That's like, so real.
That's one of those things where I'm like, I could actually be doing this.
Hmm.
But yeah, I forgot like that whole premise of him like I'm trying to remember like my memory of that first episode, but I do remember him like getting into the game, and I do remember he's like good at it. So I'm like, this is a whole new walk for me. But that being said, you know, you did say that you picked this up kind of like mid season. How was it like you were just on Crunchyroll looking at stuff? Like how did you end up like checking out some of the episodes?
I'm pretty sure I heard maybe one or two people talking about it, and they highlighted that it's really different from a lot of video game anime rather, in a similar vein. It doesn't have the whole trapped in the video game aspect to it. They're not fighting for their lives. It's literally just people playing video games, and it centers the gaming experience and in many ways game development in a way that's really cool and made me at least feel seen as somebody who's grown up playing video games.
That is cool. And you mentioned like it, when you were talking about the anime, like the cracked games, and I find that that is such a like niche area of gaming that a lot of people don't talk about because it is like
Hmm.
frowned upon. Like they don't want you to be playing these like hacked or messed up games. So I would think that like that is interesting for that to have it. So you're watching this anime, you're thinking it's cool. When did you know that it was like joining your list of favorite anime?
It was pretty early on, I would say. A lot of the show is following the main character's thought process as he kind of problem solves his way through a lot of things. And you hear the way that he kind of analyzes and breaks down situations and game mechanics. And that really stood out to me because a lot of these, like I said, a lot of these video game anime, they're not really true to the video game experience. But this one feels a lot more like a love letter to video games in general. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is something to watch. And it also helped that the animation is very, very good.
I can say I remember and have seen clips. It's really good, but there is definitely something to watching something about something that you enjoy, and you're like, yes. Like I think of it's not in the same vein, but I think of Wotakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku, and everybody's like it's a romance anime, but really it's an anime. I feel like it's a love letter to fandom and about adults who are into fan like anime, manga, and things like that. And
Hmm.
that's how I felt watching that anime, where I was like, "Oh, you get me. Like I'm seen.
For sure.
like this is my experience as a person in the workforce watching anime and manga and fangirling." So I can relate to those feelings. So I do think it like it's kind of like when people like doctors watch Grey's Anatomy and they're like that
Yeah.
would never happen.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now everyone's into the pit because they're like this is actually realistic to doctors' experiences in the
Exactly.
emergency room. So you obviously, you know, you mentioned that like still it's kind of underrated, but I'm sure there's like other fans. So what when you think about the show, what is something that you think the average fan or maybe somebody who's not like into it like is not understanding about the show, or there's like a common misconception about this anime?
Yeah, of course. I think one of the biggest misconceptions to the show is that people think that it's an isekai, and it is absolutely not that. There's no, like I mentioned, there's no risk of death at all or anything. These are people who sit down, pick up a controller, and play a video game. Sometimes they play a different video game. Sometimes they go to video game tournaments or hang out with their friends. Like they don't they, it's a lot more down to earth than a lot of people give it credit for, and I think that's to its benefit.
That that definitely was one of my misconceptions because I'm like, am I gonna have to watch this guy with a bird head his whole time?
I could actually speak to that.
Yes,
There's
go
something
ahead.
very funny about his character design. I'm not sure if this was. I'm pretty sure, but I can't say for certain if if this was intentional or not. But if you play FromSoft games or Dark Souls games, you may have heard of a particular character who goes by the name of Let Me Solo Her. And for those who don't know, basically there's a very hard boss in Elden Ring called Millennia, and she's famously difficult, famously churning out players and turning them into mincemeat. And there's this one character, like you can summon other characters to help and assist you in boss fights. And this guy, he has such an interesting appearance. He plays with no clothes, two swords, and a pot on his head. Very interesting design choice, very interesting character choice. But a lot of it has to do with the way that speed and the different mechanics work. So even though he looks kind of weird and has a very standout appearance, he was very, 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 very good. Extremely good. Good enough to defeat the boss on his own without the other characters asking for help, doing anything. And if you look at the character in Shangri-La Frontier, he's very much dressed in the same way. He gets a curse very early on in the game that prevents him from wearing armor on his legs and on his torso. And he hides his face with the bird mask, as you mentioned before. So it feels a lot like a callback to that particular moment in video game history.
I am looking it up because when somebody mentions something that I don't know, I'm like, let me look it up. And I have seen this meme. I didn't know the context of it. So that makes a lot of sense. Dots are connecting. It also makes sense. My husband played Elden Ring, and sometimes he'd watch streams, and I'm like, why are these people naked in this playing this game? And now they're trying to replicate that moment, and they're like, I don't need these clothes. I get it now. But that makes a lot of sense, and that would be, I feel like that makes, like I could see that being true, because I feel like too, people think like anime in Japan like exists in a vacuum and don't think like they don't have access to like the memes and stuff that we do.
For sure.
Or like our Easter eggs. Like I'm like online culture, even if it's not the same language, like is very is everywhere. It's universal. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if that is directly the callback to that. Especially like you mentioned, because I saw that he had the head, but I didn't realize, he only got them little jorts on. And I'm on the like wiki, and it looks like he doesn't have shoes either. Like, poor guy.
If you see, he's got those marks all over his body.
Yes,
that's the curse preventing him from equipping any equipment on his body. He can only wear something on his head. Yeah.
I feel like there's certain games like where I'm like, okay, I only get this far because of the certain like outfits. And I'm thinking specifically of like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where I always only don the stealth mode outfit, and I'm like,
nice.
I can't game without this stealth mode outfit. But then I think about how I beat Tears of the Kingdom and I was wearing like some of the barbarian pieces. But like in video games, like when you beat a game and then like the cutscenes happen and then you're wearing the outfit and you're like, this outfit was just random pieces that I thought was going to help me beat this boss. And now this emotional cutscene is happening and I look crazy.
Yep. All of that.
You're just like, bro, especially, this is such a tangent, but especially I think Link wearing certain pieces looks absolutely insane. Like, I'm like, why is this outfit? But
that's another huge thing about like gaming is creating really stupid or funny looking characters just for that moment in serious cutscenes when it looks like they're just a clown standing in the middle of it. It's hilarious.
And you're just like, it's like, I would give my life to be with you. And they're there with like a pot and you're like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I get that. So with, I'm going to say it. I just forgot completely exactly how to pronounce it, but I'm going to try again. Shangri-La.
There you go.
Shangri-La. I don't know why it's so hard. I think it's because it looks different in my head. Like I was pronouncing it differently than it actually is. What is an opinion that you have about it that would be unpopular, that other fans of this show wouldn't agree with you on?
I'm not sure how unpopular it is, but like I mentioned before, sometimes they stop playing the game and they'll play something different, and there'll be a few episodes where they're just playing a random video game. And I actually really like those segments of the show. A lot of the times, the the characters learn something that they apply later on in Shangri-La Frontier, or sometimes they pick up new friends to play along with them. So there's a lot of really cool things that happen outside of the game that really help to expand the scope of the show.
And why do you think other people don't like those scenes?
A lot of people like to stay in the action. Like, I know there are a few times where things get intense, especially towards the end of the second season. They're at a pretty pivotal role. There are 7 like uber boss characters that are out in the game to beat, and the stage is set for them to fight one. And in the middle of that, the main character is going to play in some video game tournament. So I understand why some people may have issues with switching to something else, especially in the middle of that much action. But I genuinely like the way that they tie everything together and how it all kind of plays off of each other in the end.
I feel like that goes into one of my complaints about people in general, is that
Talk about it.
I feel like, not people in general, specifically, I guess, in the anime conversations, and I don't know how old you are, but I feel like maybe we're around the same age where you've been watching anime as long as you've been alive.
Oh yeah.
And I find that people are so, and it may be like the extreme overreaction to like fillers in like One Piece and Naruto, where there's like websites that are specifically designed to let you know like how many fillers there are. And I find that as an extreme overreaction to a lot of fillers, people now feel like anything that isn't action, that isn't fast paced, moving the plot is filler. Or even if it's canon, they feel like it's filler adjacent, and they do not like those parts. And
Agreed.
they want action, action, action. And I find that one of my biggest issues with that is that a lot of the character development, a lot of understanding characters, learning who they are, their motivations happen in those slower moments. Like you mentioned in this specific anime, they're taking things from a different video game and then bringing it back to the main video game that they're playing. And it's like, if we don't have those moments, then you don't have them, beating whatever boss with this new skill in the main game. And I'm just like, I find that people are just like, oh, slow moment. We're moving away from the main thing. It's like stories have plot A and plot B and plot C. It's like
All the time.
I don't know what y'all want.
For real. I mean, it is kind of frustrating sometimes, especially when it dominates the conversation for certain shows. And I definitely agree. Like it's fun seeing them do something else, and whenever the show gets a chance to breathe and exist as beyond whatever, it says on the tin.
Yes, and I think like a really good show is going to circle back and
sure.
show you why like it was important for you to see them at the beach. I love a beach episode. I love a random fireworks scene. Like
For real. For real.
But yeah, I think that overall contributes to just, and it's kind of like outside of anime, but I feel like this is also a result of prestige TV and shows that are now 6 episodes, 8 episodes, 12 episodes, and like that is considered like the top of the top shows, and then people are like accustomed to that and missing like, okay, remember when we had 24 episodes a season and the minor episodes still were like important. I think that's all, like everything happens like for a reason, and that is why we're so used to like the prestige television shows just cutting out all of these like slower moments that we think everything has to be just like action, action, action. And sometimes I want to see the characters do something else.
Exactly.
So when you think about, this is still ongoing. I believe the manga is still ongoing. Are you reading the manga?
I am not reading the manga for the reason that I want to see how the anime plays out first. I'll probably pick it up afterwards.
Okay. I'm always anime first and then manga. And
Same.
I won't read the manga until the anime is done. Because I believe they're two different experiences and I need to enjoy them separately. So, but as the anime is still ongoing, and I think it says here it just got like approved for season 3. There's season 3 coming.
Yeah.
What do you think so far? I mean, this is still like a newer show, but what do you think so far this show's legacy is going to be?
It's hard to say just because it is still pretty early on in its run. The second season just wrapped up earlier this year, but I think that just the way that it highlights kind of a more chill vibe, a more chill atmosphere. I would like it if that caught on more, like just the low stakes aspect of things, because you can do high stakes without putting somebody's life at risk. Like if anybody's played a video game competitively, you know that it can get mad heated without putting anything on the line. And capturing that aspect of things, I think, is really important and gives a bit more dynamic to a show.
Yes, I agree. I obviously not having seen this, but I definitely think again as a result of prestige television, we have been so conditioned to think that everything
Mm,
has to be like this anxiety inducing, everything on the line, high stakes, high stakes, high stakes. And I want to see a return of more slowdown, more
for
with their
sure.
stakes, but they're not that high.
Hmm.
You don't have to think who is going to pass away.
For
This-
real.
and when you mentioned that this anime is not like Sword Art Online where they're stuck in the game. And if you die in the game, is
You
it
die
Sword Art
for
Online where
real.
you die in the game, you
Yeah.
die in real life?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was like, so I remember it took me a long time to watch Sword Art Online. And when I finally did, I remember, I guess this is a spoiler, but this show's been out almost like 30 years at this point. That's an
Hmm.
exaggeration. I think it's been like 15. But the first part of that first season, like when they finished that game, and then they were like, oh, we got to go back to a different game. I said, no. I said, I'm done. I was so worked up for them getting out of this game, and then you're gonna make it another game. It was too
Yeah.
much. It was too much.
I couldn't get into it myself. Like I have seen it, but it's definitely not my favorite. And having that as a comparison to this show, I think helps because it highlights a lot of the ways, like I mentioned before, that it's true to that Shangri-La Frontier is true to the gaming experience. Because, like, for example, the main character's got a few friends that he plays with, and they're very competitive between each other. Like they're helping each other, but they've definitely got a bragging rights situation going on at the same time. And you see that kind of competitive assistance and camaraderie between them play out in ways that's really just refreshing to see.
Now I haven't seen this, but the way you're describing it, it kind of sounds like a sports anime, like where there are people who are on the same team and they're working together, but at the same time they're also like in competition with each other.
Yeah, and it depends on, the characters that are interacting with each other at a particular time, but there is a lot of that going on. For example, they take on one of the major bosses in the game, and one of the characters has a real close connection with one of the NPCs, and they kind of see themselves in the NPC, and and the other characters, they kind of roast her for it, like lightly in a friendly way, because she has a streak of being devious to non-playing characters in video games and just being completely evil. And you can see them kind of like roasting her a little bit, but at the same time, like, you know what, this is what it means to be a gamer. Sometimes you find a character that you really get close to, and you really got to do this side quest or this side mission because it means so much to you.
It's so interesting because like I said, I play video games, but I've never played video games with people.
Hmm.
Um, and like my husband plays games, and he has like people that he's been playing with for years, like the same game. And I'm like, this is so. It's like that in community, like
Right.
those little things. But that I like that as you're describing this show, like. I'm like, I don't know if I would try it again, but I definitely see the need for that because I think in general, gaming is so underlooked as like a community aspect.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
obviously, the news is going to be like the kids are on Roblox talking to predators and
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
But this actual aspect of like gaming with people and working together and having that camaraderie, and you are like making fun of each other and you are roasting each other, but at the end of the day, like you're still part of this team. And this is a hobby that you enjoy doing together. I can see like this being underrated because I'm like, this is such a good premise and it's so relevant to gaming right now. Like it's not like I feel like kind of like bringing the Sword Art Online comparison from what I remember from Sword Art Online. I know they're still making it, but like that first season, obviously you can't get stuck in the game and like live forever, but the certain aspects of the game was really relevant at that time, like with people playing like I think World of Warcraft, where you can just be playing games and people are getting married in the game, and like, and I think while those type of games still exist, I definitely think it has transformed a lot to the type of games like you're describing in this anime, where it is like all of us going to be doing something and like we play all these type of different games together.
And a lot of it, like me personally, I see myself, like my identity as a gamer in the main character a lot. Like the way that he problem solves and the way that he goes about doing things. Sometimes he's in a situation where he's like, yo, it would just be easier to just take the L, take the death, and start over. And he stops himself. He's like, nah, my pride won't let me. You know what I mean? And just being able, just wanting to dig in and purposefully putting yourself in a difficult situation just for the satisfaction of overcoming it. And a lot of that stuff I saw in myself, and I was like, wow, this makes me feel like I'm actually a decent gamer. Because like you, I don't really play too much with people. I play with my friends sometimes, but I'm mostly a single player gamer. And just being able to see my experience reflected in that is something that I don't get a lot.
Yes, and hearing you talk about specifically that part again, like I'm just in awe because I feel like that is things that people don't talk about with gaming. Like it's like,
For
oh,
sure.
gaming, whatever, is a hobby, you're wasting your time. But it is that part. Like you're saying that, and I'm thinking about when I got stuck. Have you played Tears of the Kingdom?
I've played Breath of the Wild. I haven't touched Tears of the Kingdom yet.
Okay, so I'm not gonna spoil it, but there was a part in Tears of the Kingdom where I was fighting the final boss, but I feel like it was different than in Breath of the Wild, because in Breath of the Wild, like if you got too stuck, like you could get out of everything and then come back. And here, like you can't get out.
Oh boy.
You can't fast travel. And
You can't
I
run
was
away
like,
from the fight, huh?
I was like, bro, I am seriously like under, and I'm like, I feel like I Breath of the Wild was the game that made me believe like I'm a gamer and like I actually have skills to play games. And Tears of the Kingdom was like, oh, you thought you was a gamer? Psych! But I
Yep.
still am a gamer and I'm still very skilled. And I was fighting the final boss and I literally was like, bro, like I cannot do this. Like I was like, I'm gonna have to call reinforcements, which I don't have because my only other friend that played Tears of the Kingdom lives like an hour away. And I'm like, I do not see myself getting out of this. And then I kept like, this sounds so dramatic, but I'm literally like, you did not get this far to stay here. Like, you've been grinding this game and you beat Breath of the Wild in 2 weeks. You know what you're doing. Like, you got this. And then I did have it.
Exactly.
I did win in my barbarian outfit with the
That's what's
super
up.
headset that made Link look crazy. But it's to what you're saying, like that conversation that he's having, and like you do have pride as a gamer, and like if you're problem solving and you're doing all these things, like you do feel like, nah, like I'm not gonna get got by this. I think everyone can relate to that, like having that one boss or having that one like challenge where you're like, man, I just quit this whole thing right now, and you're like, no, I need to see it through.
Yeah, like in many ways, video gaming can be a form of self-discipline, in terms of like, you know, how you go about it and your attitude towards things. Like one of my favorite video games of all time is Sekiro, and I'm not sure if you've played that one, but it's another FromSoft game, so it's extremely hard, and it's built around a parry mechanic. So
Oh,
it's
I hate parrying. Oh my god.
boy, it's a rough time, especially when you're picking it up for the first time. But the satisfaction you get from beating a difficult boss is very much unlike any other game I've played before, because you feel yourself improving and getting better in real time, and that kind of confidence transfers.
Yeah, you got that. I'm not parrying nothing. It reminds me in Breath of the Wild and in Tears of the Kingdom, there's those certain shrines where you have to parry to get out. And I'm like, bro, I cannot do this. And Miracle, did it. Like, it was like, you never see me do this again. Have you played Expedition 33?
I have.
Yeah, I
have
haven't, but my work bestie, she's the one that I was mentioning with Tears of the Kingdom. She was telling me about a boss on there where you got to parry, and I'm like, I'm not doing that.
The funny thing about Expedition 33 is that you don't have to do those things. You don't have to dodge. You don't have to parry. But after playing me personally, after playing Sekiro, I run for those mechanics. Like
now
you,
that you're a boss at it,
I was like you before though. Like I hated parry mechanics. I thought they were too difficult. They took the fun out of games or whatever. And now, like, if there's a parry mechanic in a video game, I'm gonna exploit it.
Oh, okay. See, that I like that. I don't think I'll get there, but I like that for you. Because it's like you can. I feel like it's one of those things where I can, like, I know if I focus and do it, I get it. But I'm also at this point where I have very limited gaming time.
Of course.
So I'm like, I got to get the most of my enjoyment
I get
when
that
I
for
can.
sure.
But it's like with those certain skills, those certain type of games, you do build certain things. I know, when I beat Breath of the Wild, and I was going back and trying to find all the Korok seed and trying to do all the extra quests and stuff. It's you get to a point where you're like, let me go find that Lionel. Once I beat a Lionel, I was like, where the next ones? Where the next ones? I'm gonna keep trying. So I do love that. And I love that but bring it back to Shangri-La.
There you go.
Shangri-La. I feel you know what it is? I want to say Shrang. For some reason, I keep imagining an R after the SH in between the A and the H, and I feel like that's where it's throwing me off. But bring it back to that. Now that you've watched it, you've watched the 2 seasons. How do you feel like this anime has impacted your life, whether it's gaming or whether it's just your life as a whole?
It's given me a lot more confidence in terms of my competence as a video gamer. Like I said, I usually play single player games. I don't see myself as a video gamer sometimes in certain contexts. And then when we play competitive games, I'm not usually one of the best among my friends. But seeing the way that, the main character goes about the game, Sunraku goes about the game, and seeing oh wait, no, that's me. No, that's the way I think about things. No, that's what I would do. And it just made me feel like, wait, maybe I'm good. Maybe this is a thing that, I've actually developed skills to do. And at the end of the day, it is just video games. But it is something that I didn't think I had before. And like I said, just being seen in that way is a really nice feeling.
It is. And it is video games, but it's also not video games. It's, right. I feel like growing up in the era that we grew up in, video games is this mysterious third thing that doesn't count. But I look at it playing basketball or playing baseball. It is a sport thing. It is something where you get skills, and that does matter.
I agree.
And I think, with this conversation, something that you when you mentioned earlier, this is something that a lot of people think is just another isekai, and I feel like you may understand this, where every season it feels like we're getting 10 random isekais.
Yep.
And for this anime that could easily be misunderstood and just packaged along, thrown in with the isekai slop that we're getting, because I'll be honest, some of these they're not the best.
Slop is the correct word for sure.
It's every season it's I'm a trash can in this whatever. And you're okay. But you know, having that much, and this being more so like a love letter to video games as opposed to just like the usual gaming isekai. I really love that, and I'm actually so happy that this was the anime that you picked, because this entire conversation I've just been like, oh my god, like I didn't know, I would have never known this anime was about. Like, it completely changed my mind on what I thought this anime was about. And I would be
That's good.
more, I definitely feel like I'm more inclined to go back and check it out, because the way that you're describing it kind of reminds me of, have you seen Recovery of an MMO Junkie?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and you know how they're like in the game, but they're also like they exist outside of the game, and they're
Right.
having like things like they think a lot about how they go about life based on the game. And
Hmm.
that's what this kind of reminds me of as you're saying it about it. Like, it's not just the game, it's what goes on outside of it too.
Hmm.
And I love that. So, as we're wrapping up, are there any fun facts or cool things about Shangri-La that you'd like to share?
The production value is through the absolute roof. Like, one thing I said about the show on Threads, you may have seen, was that, in my opinion, I don't think there's anything that Solo Leveling is doing that Shangri-La doesn't do equally as well, and in some cases better. And that's not to talk down on any shows, that's just to say how good the production value of Shangri-La Frontier is. It's real eye candy for sure. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think, the only thing it doesn't have that Solo Leveling has is the marketing budget.
Well,
Because
can't have everything.
the marketing budget in Solo Leveling is insane. But that's coming from the dynasty that is Solo Leveling. Like,
Of
that's
course.
just so much behind it. But yeah, so like I said, I'm so glad that you brought this up, and I appreciate you sharing this anime, because like I said, it wasn't one that I was expecting at all, and the premise completely wasn't anything that I was expecting. So I just want to thank you for bringing this and having this conversation with me,
Awesome.
and talking about it. So is there anything, any projects or anything that you would want to promote for everyone to go and follow you?
Yeah, so by the time this airs, I should have my Windbreaker video out. A video talking about Windbreaker, as well as a video talking about Dandadan. So that's something cool to check out. I like that you mentioned that I was able to help change your perspective on the show, because that's the number one thing I want to do with my videos. I think the best compliment I can get is that, oh, this made me want to go watch the show. So I love being able to do that. And if you like getting insights on your shows, like your video essays about anime, definitely come check me out.
Yes, and as somebody who's been following you on Threads, you put just so much work into your essays, and the scripts that you do. They're so well thought out and so well researched. And as I was like thinking about having you as a guest, I was looking like through your content, because like I said, I don't really watch a lot of anime content. One, I find that I'm very picky about who I watch, but also I don't like watching things about things that I may talk about in cover, because I
Got you.
never want to like cloud my own judgment with someone else's, even in a good or a bad way. Like, I'm like, this is an original thought, and it was actually me quoting you from a video, like you're talking on
For
video or
sure.
something.
Yeah.
But the one video that I had watched, or I started watching, and I'm trying to think of what it was, because the way that you started the video, I was like, oh, this is definitely somebody that I want to have a conversation with. It was, I think it's one of your recent videos, but in it you had said like, I was completely wrong about this anime,
Ah, yes. Okay.
and I was like, yep, this is somebody that I know they know what they're talking about, because I feel like, oh, Black Clover,
Yeah, that's it.
which I did have somebody do a Black Clover episode. So I was like, I'd start watching that. But when I heard you say that, and like obviously the thumbnail says like I was wrong, I find that people don't do that. Like, people
Hmm.
will not admit that they're wrong, or are not willing to have their minds changed. 'Cause that's how I was with My Hero Academia. Like, I saw
Hmm.
that first episode and I was like, hell no. Like, immediately no. And then I was like, oh no, this is actually for me. This is my brand.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so awesome. So to anyone listening, I of course will have all of Rex socials and his YouTube channel linked in the description of this episode and on the YouTube channel so that you can go and check it out. But thank you so much for coming on the show. And thank you so much to those of you guys who are listening. And I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot.
so much. Yes. So, bye.